County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
I don't think anybody can beat Eddie Crow. I've known him for a long time. I've actually been doing radio shows on WBVP, WMBA, would you believe it or not, since 1986.
Wow, since 86.
Since 86. Chris Shovlin was the station manager, and he did the show called Teleforum, which was in the morning, this morning show. And I was on there every month, and I was on there for years. I mean, in all of this time, I think there's only been a few years where I was off for a while, but it was I always come back.
Let me ask you, Tom.
Yes.
Now, we were just down at the old studio in Beaver Falls on 7th Avenue on Saturday for the Beaver Falls Car Cruise. How do you like this new place compared to the old place?
I think this is awesome. I mean, when I would go to the last few years down there, I didn't know whether I was going to be on the other side of the board in the boardroom, or they had this new area with a black curtain, and they created a new area when they started to do YouTube or the Facebook posting and doing that. But no, I've got very comfortable here. I like it. It's convenient for me because I just live down over the hill in Beaver.
Okay.
And doing that, so I think it's great.
I tell you what, the space is plenty here. I mean, there's no lack of space. And
well, yeah, I think we could expand the whole building. We could have 40 radio stations in this building and do that. But I really am appreciative, and I thank St. Barnabas and their encouragement. And I mean, they put no restrictions on what I can talk about. I don't talk about things if it's my opinion and a conspiracy theory, but so many of the conspiracy theories over the last 6-8 years have come true.
Yeah.
Well, what? It's not a conspiracy theory anymore.
Right.
They wanted it to be.
It almost seems like it's a term that somebody uses when they disagree with you and they want to discredit what you're saying, just so they feel right, or they're trying to prove their point.
There is the point, and it has become a device to put you in your place, so to speak.
Yeah.
To program people to think. Today's show, folks, is going to be about all the above. We're going to talk about what we talked about the last couple of days, about finances, how to find a plan, something that will take you beyond anywhere you thought you could go. When I meet people, they always ask me what I do, and I say, I help people save unbelievable amounts of money and create unbelievable amounts of wealth over their lifetime, because we lose so much. And before I get started and go off, and I'll come back and talk some more about this. I start every program with a prayer for everybody around the world. The world is in trouble right now. This COVID came from China, the Wuhan lab, which operated by the CCP of China. I don't believe China's our friend. I'm going to talk about some of that today during the show. And I brought a lot of documents with me that are facts that I don't think people find. But we pray for those who have had their health impaired because of this COVID, and we pray for those who have lost loved ones, and especially for the loved ones who have been lost, that the Lord would gather them in his arms and take them to his kingdom of heaven above. We must pray for Russia and Ukraine, that somehow there would be some common sense found between these people, and there would be sit down at a table and come up with some kind of a peace plan and resolve the purpose or the reason. I don't even know the reason on why this is going on over there, and I don't think anybody else does, and doesn't seem like anybody wants to find out, but we need to do that. So we pray for all of those folks to stop the destruction and the killing. We pray for Israel, that they would somehow eliminate this Hamas that attacked them on October 7th in an unconscionable way, an unacceptable way. And we pray for their resilience, and we pray for those who have been lost. In Jesus' name we pray. It's funny. I've got, we're going to talk about banking today, the Federal Reserve, Creature Jekyll Island, the book, the rich bankers and the businessmen that created the Federal Reserve, interest rates, how the IRS and the politicians collude together to do social engineering. They make adjustments and tweaks to the tax code to provide maybe a tax credit or an extra tax deduction to get you to do what they want you to do. It's like Section 8 housing, providing housing for people that are low-income folks. And I'm not saying that that it's wrong, but you got to call it what it is. It's social engineering, and it's their way of controlling us. We're going to talk about the deregulation of the banks and why the savings and loans collapsed, and how the FDIC and the banks were saved shortly after the collapse of the savings and loans in '87. We're sitting on a tax code right now that seems to be treating us pretty well, but there was a sunset provision, and that sunset provision is 2025. So if we don't get control of the Congress and the Senate, and in a way that we can make this tax law permanent, you don't even want to know what the reversion is back to the old tax law, because it's going to be tax hikes like you've never seen before, a state tax, all kinds of different things. We'll talk, and I'll touch on that a little bit today. Phones are open today. Let's see, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. You got a comment or an experience about these things that I talk about that you want to share with us that could maybe enlighten somebody or help somebody else. It's really all about helping people get further ahead in their life than they ever thought they could. That's what my goal is. That's what my business is, and what I do in doing that. So let me start out talking about the banks and the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve came into being in 1913, and let's go back in time to about 1845 or 1854. Andrew Jackson was president, and these rich bankers, they tried to institute a Federal Reserve system back in the 1800s. And Andrew Jackson quashed it. He said that isn't going to happen. Wasn't going to give control. So it wasn't until 1913 that this actually came about. And at the same time the Federal Reserve was created, the IRS was created. And the Internal Revenue Service, the original legislation and the original documentation, it was to be a temporary situation. It was a temporary tax. Well, we know today it never was temporary. I don't think it was intended to be temporary. It was guided by the same rich bankers and business people that started the Federal Reserve, and the onerous tax rates, and I have them here somewhere. We'll get into them today sometime this morning. But the tax rates were as high as 80, 90, 92% on income over $200,000. Could you imagine that? $200,000 puts you at the top tax bracket of 92%. In my mind, the only purpose of that kind of onerous tax rate would be to stop people from ever becoming as rich as the rich people already were. And that's a story in my new book I'm working on, the Scoundrels of Finance that I'm working on. But in my mind, that's the only reason that could be that. Why else would we have a 90%? And it was 90%. If you made $1 million, the next tax bracket was 90%. And it was that for several years. And then all of a sudden they changed the tax code, and then it went to $200,000, and then you were at 90%. There's a big difference, and this is back in the 1930s. It's a big difference between $200,000 and $1 million to get to the 90% rate back in that time, because there was only these few people that were making that rate of return, that kind of money back in those kind of days and what was going on. So this stuff is crazy, what they're doing and how they're doing it, but we have to be aware of that. We got a call?
Yes.
Got a call. All right, let's take a call.
This is Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, how you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing great and getting better. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You know what? When my little boy was little, he's 38 now, every night we would read him at least 2 books. And he would sit there and listen. And one was The Emperor Has No Clothes. And one time one of my wife's girlfriends came over, and she said, let me read him his story tonight, because he knew it was time for his story. And she laughed because he ran and grabbed The Emperor Has No Clothes. And this is the only way we're going to win this. As far as taxation, I'm looking at my neighbor's wheelbarrow. And let's say he paid $50 for it.
Yep.
Well, under a value-added tax, and I read this in an editorial years ago, he would have paid $100 for it. And that's fine, because there would be no property taxes, no Social Security taxes, no income taxes. And I heard your dissertation how many taxes there are. And if a bum breaks an ankle and he doesn't have medical insurance, we fix the ankle out of that bucket. If we decide to fight a war, we fix it out of that. Then we can get rid of all these worthless IRS people who just want to know all your business, where you're at. And didn't the IRS talk about arming the IRS, like how much ammunition they bought a couple years ago?
Oh, absolutely. They were supposedly hiring 86,000 new IRS agents so that they could audit more of the wealthy people. But it was just released. I mean, the discussion has been that they're going to go after everybody in some way or another to gather income. And later on in one of my segments today, I'm going to talk about probably between 10 o'clock, after 10 o'clock, NESARA and GESARA, and what that really means. My purpose and goal, Dawn, is to make people aware so that if you wake up in the morning and the EBS system is on, and the TV is off and the radio is off and the emergency broadcasting system is on, and they're telling you to stay home. Don't do anything, just stay in your home. You need to know why that's happening. And that NESARA is something that was created back in 2009, 2010, and it is believed, conspiracy theory, that NESARA was stopped by 9/11. Now, that's part of the conspiracy theory. We're gonna talk about conspiracy theories today, but we're not educating people. People are not getting the information they need to make comprehensive, real decisions in their life to better themselves. You know, I talked about that book, Interview with the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and the devil says people are just drifters, and 98%. So what
was the name of the book? I read Think and Grow Rich. What was the name of the book?
Interview with the Devil. You can get it on Amazon, and it's another book by Napoleon. Now, this is a book he wrote years ago, but his foundation just released it last year. Great book. It is just, it will make you think. It will make you think on what you see every day, because our perspective is how we view life. And then we have our perceptions that change all the time because of new information and what we do.
You know, I had a good friend of mine years ago, a friend at the factory. And when you work night shift at a factory, you guys hang out together. And I was talking to her boyfriend one time in his house. Maybe I was drinking a little too much. He thought a couple of the people I hung around with weren't good people, and he was a nice guy. And like a lot of smart people, a quiet guy, and he looked at me, and I wasn't ashamed or offended at all, and he looked at me and he said, open your eyes. And that's what you want to do. You want the people to open their eyes, correct?
Absolutely. You know, the things that I've talked about in the last 2 days and what I'm going to talk about today, it's all research. I have all these documents. I printed one off this morning that I wanted to get about BRICS. Have you heard about BRICS?
No.
Well, see, there's a perfect example. What is BRICS? BRICS started in 2008 or 2009, and that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and there is about 15 other countries that are forming this organization called BRICS. They are going to take over the currencies. They are creating precious metal, gold and silver-backed currency. So the dollar that we have now, this fiat currency we have, It is about ready to go into the trash can. I already have on my phone, I can show you a digital wallet I have. I already own a rainbow currency that they're talking about. And people say, you go on the internet and it says, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. But go look up qfstechnologies.org and you'll find out all about it. They started in 2017. The rainbow currency went live in Europe in 2019, and they are working right now to make it live in the U.S. and Canada. So we're on the doorstep of a major, major change like never before in our history. I got to go. Wow. We're going on a hard break. Thank you so much for your call. God bless you, and keep the fight going and keep talking about Patriots, and we got to save the country.
Yes, sir. Take care.
God bless.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
This is a test of the emergency alert system originating from WBVP, the broadcasters and cable operators of the area, in voluntary cooperation with the Federal Communications Commission and other agencies, have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. This is only a test. This concludes this test of the emergency alert system. If this had been an actual emergency, you would have been given emergency information or instructions. This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Looking for that special home or wanting to sell yours? Let the Lisa Latham team, brokered by eXp Realty, help you. Hi, I'm Tank Latham, and our goal is to make you feel comfortable whether buying or selling. Lisa and I strive to make the process as smooth and as easy as possible. We invite you to visit the all-new eXp office located at 926 3rd Avenue, New Brighton. Give us a call at 724-307-5472. Check out Beaver County home inventory on our website, lisalatham.com. The Lisa Latham team, results that move you.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their 2 for $3 mix and match breakfast special. Whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's breakfast. I'm loving it.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect sunny skies today with a high of about 80 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after taking this look at news. PennDOT District 11 has announced drilling operations on Honing Road and Economy. Those are set to begin today. Single-lane alternating traffic will occur on Honing Road near the Conway-Walrus Road intersection weekdays from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. through Monday, June 17th, as crews from Armstrong Drilling conduct drilling operations. Drivers are told to use caution when traveling through the area. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Dan Engen from Draw Collective presented his final option recommendations to the district at Tuesday night's work session. At the board's meeting on Tuesday, June 25th, the board will meet in regular session to discuss the options presented. Matt Motz was hired as the new head football varsity coach, replacing John Rosa. Linda Cicella, kindergarten teacher at Independence Elementary's retirement became effective May 31st. Kelly Weibel, JV cheerleading sponsor, resigned and has accepted the head varsity cheerleading sponsor effective May 31st. Angela Markowitz was hired as a health suite assistant at Margaret Ross Elementary School, and 2 summer custodial staff members were hired. The PA House Consumer Protection Technology and Utilities Committee voted to send 4 bills to the full House for consideration, including 2 bills to strengthen protections for Pennsylvania consumers, a bill to boost energy production statewide, and legislation introduced by Committee Chair Rob Matsey that would encourage the development of sustainable aviation fuel. Matsey said the Pittsburgh International Airport provides a unique opportunity to boost production of SAF, an alternative bio-based fuel now being used by the aviation industry. A resident of Newcastle pled guilty in federal court to a charge of violating federal narcotics laws. Dante Blackshear, age 25, pled guilty before senior United States District Judge Arthur Schwab to conspiring to distribute fentanyl and cocaine. Blackshear was charged as part of a drug trafficking crew operating in Mercer and Lawrence counties. The law provides for a maximum total sentence of 30 years in prison, a fine of up to $2 million, or both. Pennsylvania ranks in the middle among states for the well-being of its children. It is 23rd overall in the new Kids Count data book from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Here's more from Danielle Smith.
The annual data book ranks states in 4 categories: economic well-being, education, health, and community and family. Leslie Bossier with the Annie E. Casey Foundation says the report found significant dips in the percentage of children who were reading proficiently by the end of 4th grade and in the percentage of students who were proficient in basic math.
We know both those skills are critically important not only to academic success, but to make sure that young people are prepared for the workforce.
Pennsylvania ranks 16th in education and shows improvement in high school students not graduating on time. From 2018 to 2019, it was 14%, but it decreased to 13% from 2020 to 2021.
Organizers of America's perennial July 4th hot dog eating contest say the reigning champion won't compete this year due to a contract dispute. Joey Chestnut has been competing since 2005 and hasn't lost since 2015. At last year's Nathan's Famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest, he downed 62 franks and buns in 10 minutes. Organizers said Tuesday that the 40-year-old struck a deal with a competing brand, and that's a red line for the Nathan's sponsored event. Chestnut fired back on social media Tuesday night saying the event organizers changed the rules, telling his fans that rest assured you'll see me eat soon again, stay hungry. And the lead singer of the Four Tops says a Detroit area hospital restrained him and ordered a psychological exam after refusing to believe that he was part of the Motown music group. Alexander Morris filed a lawsuit Monday against Ascension Macomb Oakland Hospital in Warren. He's claiming racial discrimination and other misconduct during a 2023 visit for chest pain and breathing problems. Morris says staff assumed he was mentally ill when he revealed his celebrity status. Morris is not an original member of the Four Tops, but he joined the group in 2019. The hospital won't comment on the allegations, but they say they do not condone discrimination.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A great weather day in store for us today with sunny skies and a high near 80. Mostly clear tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 58. More sunshine tomorrow. It's going to be a hot one with temperatures in the upper 80s. Tomorrow night, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a very mild low of 65. Mostly sunny on Friday. We may see a shower and thunderstorm sometime throughout the day. Look for a high near 80 and more sunshine in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 79 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 9, we've got a temperature of 67 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
Hello. I'm filling in Tom Young for Eddie Crow. I own a business in Beaver called First Consultants, Inc. You can reach me there. I challenge you to make an appointment and sit down for 45 minutes to talk about your future and your financial future and what can and cannot be done and how to create money. People ask me what I do, and I say, look, I help people save unbelievable amounts of money and create astronomical amounts of wealth in their life that they never thought was possible. So give me a call, 724-728-6820. You can find me on Facebook, Tom Young. Our caller, Dawn, I didn't get your last name, but please send me an email, Dawn, to firedupt@comcast.net with your address, and I will send you an autographed copy of my book, The Family Money Farm, and inside the book you will find a unique gift that I include with every book. Let's get back. I just during the break, I was looking at Telegram, which is an app on my phone, and this is author of The Great Reset, Mark Morano, on Klaus Schwab's recent B20 speech. This was in Davos, the World Economic Forum. He's talking about us essentially giving up national sovereignty, giving up individual freedoms, turning over rule to experts, so-called. This whole agenda is to make it so we have no choice on some of the biggest questions in our lives. We didn't get to vote on whether gas-powered cars would be banned. We didn't get to vote on vaccine mandates. We didn't vote for lockdowns. We didn't vote for banning of meat. But all of this is happening because of these meetings like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. They meet and they work with government corporate collusion to bypass democracy and impose stuff through this corporate government fascism. That's what's going on. We have to wake up. If we talk about the Federal Reserve, I want to go back to our conversation before I switch some gears here, but I want to talk about the Federal Reserve. We know that it was created in 1913, and right now the Federal Reserve, my perception and what I'm reading, the Federal Reserve is currently operating in the red, losing billions of dollars monthly. Now, how did this transpire? Well, over the last 20 years or so, we were at very, very low interest rates just until the last couple of years. In fact, the interest rate of the Fed 2 years ago was 0.25%. So a member bank, remember that fractional banking thing I explained yesterday? You borrow money from the bank, you put up an asset as collateral, they use the collateral, go to the Federal Reserve window and borrow money. At that time, it was 0.25%, loan it out again, and they turned that 7 times. But during that period of time, the way the Federal Reserve, they print money from nothing, and then they loan it out to people. Now, when I say loan it out to people, how do they do that? Well, that means they buy treasuries, they buy bonds, short-term, long-term bonds, and that is what is sitting on their portfolio, which right now is somewhere between $7 and $8 trillion. So the SVB Bank and the banks that went bust in California, and there's a whole list of banks right now. Wikipedia, go to Wikipedia on the internet and put in 2023 global banking crisis. And Silicon Valley Bank, the Silvergate Bank failed, and another Signature Bank entered liquidation under financial distress. Within 2 weeks, several of the world's largest banks failed or were shut down by regulators. Banking regulators from multiple jurisdictions, including U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, Bank of Japan, European Central Bank, the Swiss National Bank, stepped in to provide extraordinary liquidity to attempt to prevent the banking crisis from affecting more banks. We are sitting at a precipice right now with what's going on in the world, and it's not getting better. It appears to me to be getting worse, because the Federal Reserve, if they were a bank today, they would be failed. They would be under receivership, because that $8 trillion bond portfolio, when you buy a bond has a fixed interest rate coupon. For example, if I bought a 10-year Treasury 2 years ago, it would generate maybe 0.5% or 1%, and that would be the interest rate that's guaranteed to pay me during the length of that bond and then my money back. Well, if the interest rates go up, how would I liquidate my bond if I would need money? The value of my bond, the street value of my bond, would go down, because I would have to sell it at a price that the 1 or 2% interest that I'm getting on my coupon would be the equivalent of the 4 or 5% that the new bond is paying. If you buy a new bond and it's paying you 5% interest, you're going to want to buy my 2% bond. I don't think so. So in order for me to liquidate my bond, I would have to reduce the value of my bond that I would be willing to sell it to you for, so that the 2% coupon, what would be the equivalent of the 4% or 5% new bond that you would buy. So I would take a tremendous loss in the value of my bond. And that leads me to, I talked about passive and active management on investment accounts and portfolios, whether you're conservative, balanced growth or aggressive growth or whatever, it always includes a portion of bonds in that portfolio. And the more chronologically gifted you are, the gurus of the financial world says, well, you need more bonds in your portfolio, and that creates less risk. Well, I don't know. If you had bonds in the last year or so when they started to raise interest rates, you lost a lot of money in bond value because of the rising interest rates. And what they do in doing that, it creates inflation. When the feds put more money into the marketplace, that creates inflation. There's more dollars, so the dollars that you have are now worth less. And even the meeting that Janet had the other day with one of the politicians that I was listening to, and they were talking about, the government could borrow money at 4% on a 10-year note, but yet Janet Yellen is pushing short-term where they're paying 5% interest instead of 4%. So paying 5% interest into the marketplace puts more money in the marketplace, which further enhances inflation. Now, all of this being said, and I'm going to move on from this banking stuff, is when Donald Trump was president, why didn't we have? I mean, there was business growth. There were good things happening. We were becoming the world leader of energy products, and we were going to become an exporter of energy products and everything else. But yet there wasn't any inflation. The inflation in the last year Trump was president was 1.2 or 1.4%. And here we are now, and who knows what the inflation rate really is, because they manipulate the number. If I go to 1979, when Jimmy Carter was president, inflation hit 15.6% in 1979 or 1980, which was the beginning of the extreme interest rates, because when inflation goes up and out of control, that's when the Federal Reserve steps in, and they got to kill business. They raise the interest rate so that business can't grow, business can't expand, and they manipulate the marketplace instead of allowing the marketplace to take care of itself, which is the Austrian economics approach. I am a student of Austrian economics. I would challenge you to do some research and look into Austrian economics. They believe in business cycles, and over the last 20, 30, 40 years, the Austrian economists have actually predicted some of the big declines that we've had, because they happen because the government, the Federal Reserve, they manipulate things, and when you do that, it puts things out of whack. You know, if I'm on a trip, I'm in an airplane and I'm going on a trip, and if my compass is off by 1%, and I'm on a 1,000-mile trip, where am I going to be when I get to that 1,000 miles out? I'm not going to be at my destination. So when the government manipulates, when they do their social engineering like they do with the IRS, these people that think they're smarter than everybody else, and so they make decisions to manipulate things. And when they do that, it creates a curve in the line, and things go out of whack. And that is caused by what's going on. It was like the story that I said about Bill Clinton in 1999 made a statement that the banks will loan money to these people over here across the tracks, and we know that those people don't readily pay their bills, so they're not good credit risk. But Clinton said, you'll loan money to those people, or we're going to call it discrimination. Well, they loaned the money. Well, what happened out of all that? That little decision that Clinton made led to the 90s when things went haywire and crazy. The interest rates were low, so people were investing in these new computer companies. That was the beginning of the computer era that we live in now, and they called it the dot-com bust in 2000 when it crashed. But during all that time, in 2008, what happened? Well, that was the meltdown of the financial world. Well, what caused the meltdown of the financial world? Well, they were making mortgages to people that couldn't pay the mortgage, so the banks were smart enough, and they sold blocks of mortgages to Wall Street. Wall Street bundled them and turned around and sold them to investors, telling the investors these are good things, and it turned out they weren't good things. AIG stepped out, oh, we'll insure the portfolios, and that didn't work because there was so much loss, so many mortgages defaulted that it bankrupted AIG. So the government put up $85 billion of our tax money to bail out AIG. Now, so this is nothing more than when are we going to get the politicians to do what we put them down there for and get their fingers out of all the other things in commerce and let commerce work its own way out, which is the way it's supposed to be. Because if things are going bad, it will correct itself. It will. We have to believe that. And again, the politicians and the Federal Reserve and Wall Street, they think they're the king of the hill, and they know all the answers to everything. And they have been the cause of most of all the problems that we have had in our society going back for years and years. And that's what social engineering by the IRS. There's tax credits for kids. Oh, that's good. I have kids and I need tax credits. Well, when they do that, the government can't give away money that they created. Do you know what I mean? They didn't create any money. So they have to take it from you and I to give it to somebody else. And right now, what are they doing? They're taking money from us. Now, they're not taking money from us right now, folks. They're borrowing money by the trillions right now to give money to Ukraine and Europe. And nobody is sitting down and say, look, let's stop this crap and let's sit down at the table and figure out why this is happening and fix it. I believe that's what Donald Trump would have the ability to do if he were president. because he would know how to use the financial systems to get other countries to realize that, let's get over this and let's stop the destruction and the killing. So until we have somebody with BALLS in the government that is willing, and I don't see anybody that could stand alongside Donald Trump with his ability to do, and he already proved that for the 4 years that he was president. And I just say, look at what he accomplished with all that was going on around him, trying to destroy him while he was president. I will debate with anybody about this man. I learned a long time ago, if you want to know something about a man, look at his kids. If you look at what's going on with his kids, because he was the example, or she was the example for those kids growing up. So that would have had a huge influence in the results or who the adult becomes from those children in the home they grew up in, et cetera. It's like the blacks and how they have been abused by the Democrats, and I think they're starting to figure that out. And the word now is, the blacks have appeared to be, look how bad and everything. Well, it's because they were giving money away to women to pay them to have children. So there were no men in the homes, and I mean, that's what's being talked about in the real black marketplace by real black people that know what's going on, and they want it to get better. I don't see myself in a discriminatory way in any shape or form. I grew up, I graduated high school with a D-. I'm not proud of that, but what I have learned over my life is the teachers, they didn't know how to handle me. They didn't know how to encourage me. They didn't know how to motivate me at that time. But it was when I became an adult and I had some bad times and I had to figure my own way out of things, and I finally grew up, and I was so thankful that I can look back in my life, and there were times where I know God put his hand on my neck and said, hey, this is the direction you got to go, so get off your lazy butt and do it. And we just need more of that somewhere in what we're doing. I'm sorry, I'm off on a tangent, and I just care so much about you and the people that are listening that somehow, some way, what I say, how I act, the example that I set for people will have some influence in a positive way on going forward and where we're at. So when I look at history and I look at the marginal rate, I had it here, what I do with it, the tax rates in history, and here they are, I'm sorry. History of the tax rates. We talked about high tax rate. 1917, the highest marginal tax rate was 67%. Wow. 1918 to 21, 73%. 22 to 23, 58%. And that was after the crash of 1920, or 29 was the crash. So this is before the crash. 24 was 46. 25 to 31, it was 25. And then 1932, it bumped up to 63. And then 63, 79, 81, 88, 94, and that's 1944, 94% tax, 91%, 1945 to 1963. And that was when Ronald Reagan wrote about in his memoirs, and I talked about that. He made $1 million for a movie, and he went to the paymaster to get his check, and it had $900,000 withholding on it. How would you react to that? Then we had 70% marginal rate, 77% in 64, 65 to 81 was 70%, 82 to 86. Now, this is Ronald Reagan, would drop to 50, and then in 87 it dropped to 38.5, which leads me to another story. I'm talking too much. Ryan keeps holding up signs and telling me 5 minutes, and I understand. So that's great. I need that. But if I'm looking at this, and I look at 1987, what happened in 1987 in America? The savings and loans went bust. They had insurance called FSLIC, which is similar to FDIC in the banks, that Savings and Loan Deposit Insurance Corporation, so they were protected. Well, Reagan negotiated with Congress, and the big change that occurred was if I own commercial real estate, an investment property. Under the old tax law, I could depreciate the property, which meant every year off of my income, I could reduce my income by 19%. It was 19 years depreciation. So I got a big depreciation number on commercial real estate. Well, they negotiated this 38.5% tax rate in 87. So there was another reduction in the tax rate. But in order to get that, Reagan negotiated and agreed to a change in the depreciation schedule on commercial real estate. Now, what did that mean? Ryan, let's say you and I join together as investors. We put up $50,000 each, $100,000, and we buy $1 million office building. It's appraised at $1 million. So we put up $100,000 and we get a loan for $900,000. Now we've analyzed the property and there's a lot of empty space. So there's new rental space so there's a lot of things that we could do with some work to make it more profitable and make our investment work well. Well, right after we bought the building, Congress, they get together and they change the tax law. So our depreciation schedule went from a 19-year depreciation schedule to a 39-year depreciation schedule. So what did that do to our depreciation number? It reduced it tremendously. So when I look at the appraisal of a building, a commercial rental building, part of that appraisal is based on the tax deductions. In other words, what's the results of my tax deductions on that? So that's part of the appraisal. So after the tax code changed, our building is now only appraised at $750,000. And you and I have a meeting, and we sit down and we say, look, we'll just eat the $50,000, and we'll turn the keys over to the savings and loan where we have the mortgage. That is exactly what happened. And there were so many properties turned back over to the savings and loans across America. Glendale Savings and Loan in California was the biggest. They were worth like $2.5 billion, and they went under. The government created the Resolution Trust. What was that? Well, that was how they took in all this commercial real estate, and they had to rehab it and do whatever, and ended up taking the loss and reselling it out at lower prices. So that failure of the savings and loan was across the board, and so the savings and loan, FSLIC, went bankrupt, and the savings loans went away. They're gone. There aren't any anymore. So then, back in 1970, let me go back in the clock. In 1970, bank regulations, if you had a checkbook at the bank, they were not allowed by law. They were not allowed to pay you interest by law. So there was a little bank up in New England somewhere that created a savings account with check drafts. So that was the beginning of how the law started to get twisted. And now the banks could offer checking accounts, and if you had a big enough balance, they would pay you interest on your money in the checking account. So that was the beginning of the banks and the savings and loans, because years and years ago, when my first mortgage was with a savings loan, the savings and loans made the majority of the mortgages. The banks didn't make a lot of mortgages. Well, as this time went on, the banks and the savings loans equalized. Now, I'm gonna jump off here, and we're going to come back and talk more about the savings and loan collapse and how Greenspan saved the FDIC.
Freedom United Federal Credit Union proudly presents the return of Beaver County's #1 buy, sell, and trade show, Yankee Trader. The all-new Yankee Trader is back, and popular show host Diane Brocious will return to host every Saturday morning from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Beaver County Radio. So get ready to buy, sell, and trade every Saturday right here on Beaver County Radio. The Yankee Trader Show is brought to you by your friends at Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Titanic the Musical, our majestic and beautiful season finale, presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union, June 21st through the 30th. Get tickets now at lincolnparkarts.org.
For the 14th year, Eyes in Beaver County will turn to the skies on Saturday, June the 29th for Push Beaver County's Beaver County Boom. Beaver County Boom is presented by Visit Beaver County, and it's bigger and better than ever. There will be skydivers, and an Air Heritage vintage military airplane will fly over, followed by the star of the show, Beaver County Boom, at 9:45. It all takes place over the Ohio River between Monaca and Rochester. Bring your radio along or listen on your smart device to the Falcones Moon Township Ford live broadcast on Beaver County Radio beginning at 6. Title presenter sponsor of Beaver County Boom is Visit Beaver County. Gold sponsors include Temco Industries and Zambelli Fireworks. Silver sponsors include AK Nahas Furniture and Appliances, the Borough of Beaver, the Borough of Monaca, Brentwood Bank, Clearview Credit Union, and Fort McIntosh Foundation, among others. Don't miss out on Beaver County Boom, Saturday, June the 29th, right here on Beaver County Radio.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024. We can expect sunshine all day long with a high of about 80 degrees today. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. PennDOT has announced that they have drilling operations going on Honing Road and Economy. Those were set to begin this morning. Single-lane alternating traffic will occur on Honing Road near the Conway-Walrus Road intersection weekdays from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. through Monday, June 17th. Crews from Armstrong Drilling will be conducting drilling operations. Motorists are told to use caution if they travel through the area. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Dan Engen of Draw Collective presented his final option recommendations to the district at Tuesday night's work session in regards to the district building consolidation. Matt Motz was hired as the new football head varsity coach, replacing John Rosa. Linda Cicella, kindergarten teacher at Independence Elementary, her retirement became effective May 31st. Kelly Wabel, who was the JV cheerleading sponsor, resigned and has accepted the head varsity cheerleading sponsor. Angela Markowitz was hired as a health suite assistant at Margaret Ross Elementary, and 2 summer custodial staff members were hired. The board will meet again on Tuesday, June 25th for a regular session. A resident of Newcastle pled guilty in federal court to a charge of violating federal narcotics laws. Dante Blackshear, age 25, has been charged as being part of a drug trafficking crew that was operating in Mercer and Lawrence counties. As part of his plea, Blackshear stipulated he was responsible for conspiring to distribute 20 grams of fentanyl and 100 grams of cocaine. The law provides for a maximum total sentence of up to 30 years in prison, a fine of $2 million, or both. Pennsylvania ranks in the middle among states for the well-being of its children. In its 23rd overall, it is 23rd overall in the Kids Count data book from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Here's more from Danielle Smith.
The annual data book ranks states in 4 categories: economic well-being, education, health, and community and family. Leslie Bossier with the Annie E. Casey Foundation says the report found significant dips in the percentage of children who were reading proficiently by the end of 4th grade and in the percentage of students who were proficient in basic math.
We know both those skills are critically important not only to academic success, but to make sure that young people are prepared for the workforce.
Pennsylvania ranks 16th in education and shows improvement in high school students not graduating on time. From 2018 to 2019, it was 14%, but it decreased to 13% from 2020 to 2021.
Across the country, thieves have now been targeting electric vehicle charging stations. Their intent is to steal the cables, which contain copper wiring. The price of copper is near record high on global markets, and that means criminals stand to collect rising sums of cash from selling the material. The stolen cables disable the charging stations. Broken down chargers have emerged as the latest obstacle for U.S. automakers in their effort to convert more Americans to EVs, despite public anxiety about a scarcity of charging stations. Even if they find a charging station, doesn't necessarily mean they'll find one with functioning cables, and it becomes another reason for buyers to stick to gasoline-fueled or hybrid vehicles, at least for the time being.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A great weather day in store for us today with sunny skies and a high near 80. Mostly clear tonight. Will drop down to a low around 58. More sunshine tomorrow. It's going to be a hot one with temperatures in the upper 80s. Tomorrow night, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a very mild low of 65. Mostly sunny on Friday. We may see a shower and thunderstorm sometime throughout the day. Look for a high near 80 and more sunshine in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 79 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024, at 9 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 70 degrees with sunshine in Beaver County. That's news. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, It's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
I miss you. It's fun to do this, and I really love doing it, and I hope that I have impact on some people's lives. When we took the break, we were getting ready to talking about 1987. The savings and loans collapsed. The government created the Resolution Trust to take in all of the commercial real estate that was in default because of the tax code change that had happened by Congress. Now we got politicians making decisions, and this tax code change, they made it effective immediately. I believe all they would have had to do was phase it in over a period of time. So that just proves to me that further they have no brains down there. They do things in a reactionary way instead of correctly. Now, what that meant was, remember I talked about 1970 and deregulation of banking, and now we have the banks playing the same fiddle as the savings and loans were playing. So in 1990, there were three major banks on the platter that were ready to be defaulted. Greenspan came in as the head of the Federal Reserve, and his job was to save the FDIC. Now, how did he do that? Well, in 1990, if you went into the bank and said, Mr. Banker, I want to borrow some money, and the banker says, look, the interest rate's 15%. We're going to charge you 15% for the loan. And you say, no, I want to bring some money and I want to save money. He says, well, we're paying 9% for a CD. So 6% spread. So the gross profit, the bank pays you 9% to get your money in the bank. They loan it out at 15, so that's 6% over 9%, or a gross profit margin of 66 2/3% profit. And they say, okay, well, 18 months later, Greenspan had lowered the interest rate. And now you're going to make a loan and say, well, we're only going to charge you 9. However, we'll give you 3 for your CD. Give you 3% for savings. So they're paying 3% for money, earning 9. So that's 6 over 3. Isn't that 200% gross marginal profit? Absolutely. And that allows the banks actually to multiply, because 3% is a third of 9, so everything they're doing, they could do it times 3, and then times fractional banking. So in 1993, I have a Wall Street Journal headline, first page, the most profitable year in the history of U.S. banking. Now, again, that's how they prevented the banks from being sucked under, same as the savings and loans had gone under. So all we see when I look at my 30,000-foot view at this stuff, all I see is how the government, the politicians, continue to interfere in commerce. They interfere, and the government has become so big. Realize the government is the largest employer. I don't know anybody in the world that would have more than 23 million employees than the U.S. federal government. And if I were president, or if I were elected president, one of the first things I would do was I would start decommissioning a lot of the government. In other words, there is a lot of the government that has become bloated. And we know every time they have an analysis of spending and that, they always find, 10 to 20% of what's going on gets out the door in fraud. In other words, the pie is so big, it is easy to steal small amounts of the pie without being noticed. And that, in turn, goes on, where we hear about earmarks. Earmarks to study the fertility of fleas or something. There's a list they usually have when they have these big $1 trillion omnibus bills, and they're looking to spend money. They always have these hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars are going to go out in these earmarks. And that is a politician that is taking money back to his constituency. So he got $1 million for XYZ business in his territory. So he goes back to this business and said, look at the government grant I got you. You are going to support me in my next election, re-election, are you not? And unfortunately, we have the greatest system in the world, don't get me wrong, but we need to figure out a way to tighten up what is going on. I believe there needs to be more disclosure and less of these 1,000-page bill, and we're voting on it tomorrow. So you got today to read it and look at it to decide whether you want to do something. Or Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we got to pass the bill so you can learn what's in it. That folks, has got to stop. And how do we stop it? I don't know. I really don't know. But, you know, we're sitting here, and I'm going to do crazy stuff now because all of a sudden we have UFOs. Now, have you seen some of the commercials and some of the stuff on social media and the internet? You know, we got supposedly Air Force pilots in jet airplanes taking videos of the flying saucer flying by. I'm not to dispute that, whether there are UFOs or not. Then we talk about Area 51 of the government. What's at Area 51? Well, they have real aliens there that they have prisonered and dissected. And I don't know what to think. This is a pure conspiracy theory. And you know, are there spaceships? Are there people from other worlds? I have no way of knowing any of that. But it's a conspiracy theory. So who's really in control of the presidency right now? If you watch Joe Biden in anything that he's doing, now be honest with me, do you feel that there is competent leadership in Washington, D.C. today? And because of that, we have all this stuff going on in the world. We got Russia and Ukraine. And did you read the headline? I didn't see it in the mainstream media. Now, isn't that interesting? But we have nuclear Russian submarine in Cuba and several Russia warships in Cuba. They have missiles that from there could reach Washington, D.C. And nobody's talking about it. So it is so controlled by their agenda of what's going on. And I believe they will do, don't even try to stop your imagination from what these people will do to stay in power. You know, when the 2020 election, and I'm going to talk about this, and I'll talk about it more during the day, but I remember Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, and if you haven't bought his pillows, I have the pillows from the pillow guy. They are wonderful to sleep on. So there's the free ad for Mike Lindell, but this guy has been amazing. He had a cyber symposium in 22. I watched, it was Saturday and Sunday, it was 2 days, all day long. I sat in front of my computer and I watched that. There wasn't a burp, a word, or nothing on mainstream media of any kind. Nothing. 2 months ago, Lindell was in a federal court in Georgia, in Atlanta, and his IT guy changed the vote inside the Dominion machine in a federal courtroom. Did you read about that in the newspaper anywhere? So you tell me how controlled the news media is to keep information away from you so that you really know what's going on. See, I watched 2 days of that symposium, the first one, and he laid it all out on what happened, and the Dominion machines were manipulated from the inside. So when the election was contested, what did they do? They kept counting the ballots. The ballots weren't the problem. The problem was the Dominion machines changed the voting in the machine. Because Lindell, about 6 months later, had another 2-day weekend symposium, and I watched it from beginning to end. Now, I'm either blind, I'm naive, stupid, or whatever, but I watched this guy. There were attorney generals from a couple of dozen states in this meeting. They introduced themselves. They spoke while they were there. They had IT people there from around the world, some of the top technology people in the world. The number one guy in the USA was there, and they analyzed, and what happened is they captured the code. On November 3rd, they captured the code in 2020. Now, that code, and I mentioned this the other day, is just a language. I mean, if you were trying to read Russian, you would need somebody that could read Russian to interpret it to American language. Agreed? We all would agree to that. So this code in the computer is the language that tells the computer what to do. Now, we're sitting on AI, which is a new thing that's coming into being. And I have a subscription to ChatGPT. And I play with it because I'll go in there and it is unbelievable the information that comes back when you ask a question. I mean, they have access to information that is everywhere. And so some of the information that I used for this radio show, I got from there. But in the second cyber symposium, they had captured the code and interpreted it. And the code in the machine, now they originally said the machines, they lied, folks. They said the machines were not online. They were not connected to the internet, and federal law says they are not allowed to be connected to the internet. Federal law. Now, how much of that has been ignored? And now they go, well, every motherboard, now if you know what the motherboard is, that's the main computer board with all the chips on it in a computer. There was a modem chip on every motherboard in every one of those machines. That is now known fact. So they lied. They said the machines were not connected to the internet. They were. They lied. So this code, when they captured it, it actually showed votes in the machine that were changed from Trump to Biden. And every state, they know exactly how many votes were changed. And they went state by state across every state, and they showed the code, they showed the capture, they showed the information, and all of this was done, and it all came out of China. They know the URL number. Now, you know what's a URL? That's the code. Every computer has an address. It's called the URL code. Every computer has one. It's like your thumbprint, your laser, your pupils. Everybody has their own unique. The URL code. They have the URL code of all the computers around the world because a lot of the information went from China to Europe. And we already know that in Italy, the satellites, this is news media from the Europe, there were people that have already been arrested in Italy that allowed the satellite system that Italy owns to be used for this. So the code went to Europe and then it came back to the USA. So they have all the URL codes in America. They have the longitude and latitude within 1,000 yards. Did you hear what the longitude and latitude? So they know the location of where the computer is. And I don't know how to make this happen, and I think that the challenge has been the news media is controlled. 90% of the news media is controlled by 6 billionaires around the world. And I would bet, I don't know, I would bet, my opinion, that those 6 billionaires, they all attend the World Economic Forum. They all are friends with Klaus, that talks about depopulation. Our population is, 6-7 billion people on the planet? And they said the ideal population of the planet is 2 billion. So how are they going to reduce it to 2 billion? You figure that out. Use your imagination. But this is out there. These people of prominence, these people of elite position in our society and in the world society, this is what they're doing. And that leads me to the Club of Rome. I talked about that the other day. The Club of Rome made a prediction in 1968 the world would be out of oil by 1993. The crude oil would be gone by 1993. Well, we all know that didn't happen. But that led to OPEC being created. Oil went up 1,000% in 3 years. Nixon took us off the gold standard, which opened the door for fractional banking. And now we're sitting here in the mess that we're sitting in right now with $35 trillion of government debt, and they're going to borrow $2 trillion more this year. The revenue of the federal government this year will be $4.8 trillion, so they're going to borrow another $2 trillion to pay their bills. So they spent $6.9 trillion on revenue of 4.8. Folks, I hope and pray we make it to November, But I don't know whether we can last that long. And that leads me to NESARA. Now, this is another conspiracy theory. And I'm going to set it up. We're going to go to the news, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to talk about the military takeover and the reset in America. Not the world reset they're talking about, where the billionaires take over everything and we live in 15-minute cities, if you don't know what that is. But I hope and pray, I'm not trying to scare you in any way, shape, or form. I just want you to be informed and have hope, love of the Lord above, and believe that He is in control of everything. Because some morning, and I believe this is going to happen before the election, that you're going to wake up in the morning and the EBS system's going to be on. What's the EBS system? The emergency broadcast system's going to come on. No TV, no radio, nothing. And the instructions are going to be there for you to stay in your home, stay off the streets, as the military moves in and starts to arrest the treasonous people in our government that have failed to stand up to their oath of office. Do you know what their oath of office is? They lay allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and to protect the United States from foreign and domestic enemies. And if you don't think that thousands of military-age young Chinese men coming across the southern border with no women, no wives, no children, and they didn't leave China just because China said go. If you're in China, my understanding, you don't just walk into the airport and get on an airplane and leave China. You have to have a purpose. You're part of that. So I don't know, folks. I'm praying for let's stay together. Be safe. We're going to come back and talk about NESARA in the next half hour. God bless.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Cruising season is here. For some of you, that means shining up the car and heading down the highway. For others, it might mean grabbing the wheel on the other side of your vessel and cruising the local waterways in your boat. Yet there are some of you that cruise season means letting somebody else do the driving while you enjoy all-you-can-eat buffets on a luxury liner at sea. This is Andy Dengel from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Well, whatever floats your boat. Freedom United Federal Credit Union can get you cruising sooner than you think with easy term auto, recreational vehicle, and vacation loan programs. Put things on cruise control. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union today and let the fun begin tomorrow. Loans are based on credit approval. Visit freedomunitedfcu.com for rates and details. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
In Beaver County, there are many great stories to tell. One such worthy story is that of the Drug-Free Aliquippa program. Now in its fourth year, the project has enjoyed great success through in-school interaction, education, raising awareness, and data analysis. Drug-Free Aliquippa has a mission to help local youth make better decisions regarding alcohol and drug use. For more information or to find out how you can get involved, visit Drug-Free Aliquippa on Facebook.
95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire in Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith. Uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMVA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You're listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Cruising season is here. For some of you, that means shining up the car and heading down the highway. For others, it might mean grabbing the wheel on the other side of your vessel and cruising the local waterways in your boat. Yet there are some of you, the cruise season means letting somebody else do the driving while you enjoy all-you-can-eat buffets on a luxury liner at sea. This is Andy Dengel from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Well, whatever floats your boat. Freedom United Federal Credit Union can get you cruising sooner than you think with easy term auto, recreational vehicle, and vacation loan programs. Put things on cruise control. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union today and let the fun begin tomorrow. Loans are based on credit approval. Visit freedomunitedfcu.com for rates and details. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Cruising season is here. For some of you, that means shining up the car and heading down the highway. For others, it might mean grabbing the wheel on the other side of your vessel and cruising the local waterways in your boat. Yet there are some of you, the cruise season means letting somebody else do the driving while you enjoy all-you-can-eat buffets on a luxury liner at sea. This is Andy Dengel from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Well, whatever floats your boat. Freedom United Federal Credit Union can get you cruising sooner than you think with easy term auto, recreational vehicle, and vacation loan programs. Put things on cruise control. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union today and let the fun begin tomorrow. Loans are based on credit approval. Visit freedomunitedfcu.com for rates and details. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Freedom United Federal Credit Union proudly presents the return of Beaver County's #1 buy, sell, and trade show, Yankee Trader. The all-new Yankee Trader is back, and popular show host Diane Brocious will return to host every Saturday morning from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Beaver County Radio. So get ready to buy, sell, and trade every Saturday right here on Beaver County Radio. The Yankee Trader Show is brought to you by your friends at Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Looking for that special home or wanting to sell yours? Let the Lisa Latham team, brokered by eXp Realty, help you. Hi, I'm Tank Latham, and our goal is to make you feel comfortable whether buying or selling. Lisa and I strive to make the process as smooth and as easy as possible. We invite you to visit the all-new eXp office located at 926 3rd Avenue, New Brighton. Give us a call at 724-307-5472. Check out Beaver County home inventory on our website, lisalatham.com. The Lisa Latham team, results that move you.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Titanic the Musical, our majestic and beautiful season finale, presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union, June 21st through the 30th. Get tickets now at LincolnParkArts.org.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
We're back. We're coming to an end. We got an hour and a half to go, and I have so much to talk about. Before we went to break, I brought up the subject of NESARA GESARA, and that is the National Economic Security Act, and it's about what's going to happen. I don't know. Ryan and I were talking during the break, and while things were on what is really happening now in the plane that we're on going forward, with millions of people being allowed into the country across the border. Yesterday, what was the news? They got 4 terrorists yesterday across the country in 4 different cities that had come across the border, and there was no vetting. These people are just simply coming in the door. And there is no vetting. There is no finding out who they are or what they're really about. And with all of this going on, something has to stop. If the direction that we are on right now is not changed, and I believe very soon, if Joe Biden would get reelected and we would continue on the path that we are on right now, my opinion, I'm sure there are many people out there that may feel the same way that I do, but what are we going to do? Because it is reaching a point of unfixing. There is so much that is unfixable at some point in time, and if it continues on. Now, why is that? Let's go back, and I talked about the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and what their plan is. And their plan is not new. That's been a plan that they've been working on for 20 years. I mean, this is nothing new. The one world order, the nation, the one army of the world through NATO and through the United Nations, and all this has been in the planning stage for years. So this isn't anything new coming at us. We are the beacon of light in the world. The U.S. of A. is still the beacon of light in the world. And I don't think anybody would deny that. But everything that they're doing every day is trying to unplug the electric to the light, that our light would eventually go out. If the light of America goes out, God help us. Because then we will become a third world country where the politicians are putting their competition in jail and accusing them and convicting them of crimes that the people that are supposed to be smart said should have never happened. You know, you can look at it and say, well, if you don't like Trump, why don't you like Trump? That's my question. Tell me why you don't like Trump. And most people, I don't like his personality. I don't like this. He's a womanizer. Well, folks, grow up. Look around you. You know, the world is what it is, but the man has the ability to get something done. And that's what we need. He definitely cares about America in every way, shape, or form. Now, let's assume that you wake up tomorrow morning and the EBS system's on, and the message is stay at home, you will receive more instructions. So I'm going to share with you these instructions. Now, this isn't new. This was created back in 2001 or 2. It's been around a long time. And the conspiracy theory is that this has not happened because 9/11, when this was supposed to happen, 9/11 occurred. Now, you can take that wherever you want to go. I'm just regurgitating opinions of what I've heard from other people. Yes, Ryan.
Tom, before you do start this list, I do have a question. I think a concern that we should have as Americans is, you know, with a lot of these people that are coming over the southern border unvetted, if somebody comes from a third world country with a disease, with with some kind of plague, or something like even that we just went through, that's a huge concern. And I don't think enough people are thinking about this, because if something comes into this country that's a third world disease or something similar, and there's no way to combat it, to fight it, how many people could die because we're just not prepared for something that may come over that border from a third world country, because we're not vetting these people. We don't know who's coming over. We don't know if you're dangerous. We don't know if you're sick. We don't know who you are. And the fact that they're coming in unvetted, that I think is part of the issue, because a lot of people are going to say, Tom, they're going to say, this country was founded on immigrants. We came here. We all came here.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with these people doing the same thing? They're not coming over legally. That's the problem, correct?
There's no vetting, and there's what's your purpose of coming here? And they're coming here, many of them, looking for the handout, because we're handing out welfare benefits to people that are illegal immigrants that are coming to the country, and they're breaking the systems. New York is going to become, what was the name of the movie that what was he in? It was about New York City was a fenced-in island now, and all the criminals were in New York City, and they had captured the president or something. So it was one of those crazy movies. But I mean, I wouldn't go to New York tomorrow if you paid me.
No.
I mean, New York is ending its own self because of the politicians there that are allowing this to go on.
And if these folks are coming over illegally, they're already off on a bad foot. If you're coming to America for the right reasons, you're doing it illegally, you're already on the road.
You already broke the law.
You already broke the law. So why should people take you seriously and give you jobs and give you this, give you that? You already are a criminal before you got started.
Absolutely. And I mean, there is a system to come to America.
Yes.
That we have a system for immigration, and they keep saying the system's broke. No, you idiot! The system is broke because you stopped the security on the southern border that was there, that was working. Now, let's assume the EBS system comes on tomorrow morning. What is the information that you need to know to keep yourself safe? NESARA implements the following changes. Zeroes out all credit card, mortgage, and other bank debt due to illegal banking and government activities. This is the Federal Reserve's worst nightmare. A jubilee or forgiveness of debt abolishes the income tax, abolishes the IRS. Employees of the IRS are transferred into the U.S. Treasury National Sales Tax area. Creates a 14% flat rate, non-essential, new items only sales tax revenue for the government. In other words, food and medicine will not be taxed, nor will used items such as older homes. Increased benefits for senior citizens, returns constitutional law to all courts and legal matters, reinstates the original title of nobility amendment. Hundreds of thousands of Americans under the control of foreign powers will lose their citizenship, be deported to other countries, and barred from re-entry for the remainder of their life. Millions of people will soon discover their college degrees are now worthless paper. establishes new presidential congressional elections within 120 days of Nassar's announcement. The interim government will cancel all national emergencies and return us back to constitutional law. Monitors elections and prevents illegal election activities of special interest groups. Creates a new U.S. Treasury rainbow currency. Now, this document was created in 2001 or 2, and they're talking about rainbow currency. I guess that's what I have on my phone. I showed it to you, Ryan. Yes. What was on my phone? RNBW, rainbow currency, okay? So they're going to create a rainbow currency backed by gold, silver, platinum, precious metals, and ending the bankruptcy of the United States that was initiated by Franklin Roosevelt in 1933. Forbids the sale of birth certificates, records as chattel property bonds by the U.S. Department of Transportation. Now, remember I talked about that the other day. You are a bond because of your birth certificate. You are a bond, and the future income you will earn is the collateral for the federal government today. Did you get that? Initiates new U.S. Treasury bank system in alignment with constitutional law. Eliminates the Federal Reserve System. During the transition period, the Federal Reserve will be allowed to operate side by side of the U.S. Treasury for 1 year in order to remove all Federal Reserve notes from the money supply. Restores financial privacy. Retrains all judges and attorneys in constitutional law. Ceases all aggressive U.S. government military actions around the world, establishes peace throughout the world, releases enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes, enables the release of over 6,000 patents of suppressed technologies that are being withheld from the public under the guise of national security, including free energy devices, anti-gravity, and sonic hearing machines. Now, Let me touch a couple of those things that I just talked about there. You know, these patents. When in my early days, I had owned Tom's Auto Body, my first business. This was back in 1978, 79, and in that era, 68, 69. I'm 10 years old further back. But I remember there was a guy in New York that invented a battery, a car battery, that did not require you to add water. If you knew anything about automobiles and automobile batteries, you had to add water. You had to monitor them, and you had to add water to them, filtered water to these batteries. Well, he invented a battery that you never had to add water to. Delco Remy bought this guy out and hid that patent for a dozen years before it came on the market. Did you ever open up your hood on your car? Do you have to add water to your battery today? No. So this is stuff. Now, I'm going to talk now. I'm going to go from NESARA. Now, there's also GISAR, which is global. Same thing. It is already happening in the world. The news media is not reporting any of this stuff anywhere. You ever heard of BRICS? We talked about that. Well, what's BRICS? BRICS is an intergovernmental organization comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. Originally identified to highlight investment opportunities, the group evolved into a cohesive geopolitical bloc with their governments meeting annually at formal summits and coordinating multilateral policy since 2009. So this stuff that's going on, we always talk, you ever see The Wizard of Oz? It's what's going on behind the curtain that you don't know about. And this is one of those things. So there are countries already that are creating a new currency that is backed by precious metal, gold, and silver. And that is part of what BRICS is and what's going on there. So when I talk about these things, folks, we need to get informed. We need to be informed about what's going on. And I'm a why person. Why do you say that? Why do you think that? I want to know why. It's like when I talked about, our 45th president, Donald Trump, and I will vote for him again this year. I don't care how many felony charges that they trump up to put on Trump. This stuff is a political game that is going on because he is the only one that I believe has the ability to destruct the deep state and this stuff going on. You know, when you got politicians that have been in Washington for 30, 35, 40 years, have become 100-millionaire people, how do you do that? Now, folks, I'll bet there's people out there listening to me. You make $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year. I make a pretty good income, and I've been doing this for 49 years, and I am not a mega multi-millionaire. I don't know how that happens in the honesty of things, in living your life. And most politicians, they have to manage two households. They have a household at home. What's her name? Pelosi has a home, Taj Mahal in California, and I what's that worth? I mean, I bet it's a multi-million-dollar home in California, but she also has a home in Washington, D.C. She stays in Washington, D.C. So how do they manage all of this on what we pay them? I believe we need term limits. We need to create the opportunity for good people with good ideas to become part of the play. And people that have been there for, 5-10 years, let's say that. A president can be a president for 8 years, right? 4 years and 4 years, and they're done. Well, why do we allow politicians to stay there for 30, 40 years? Why is that? Because there are good people. And you know what? There are great people out there that don't want to be a politician. They don't want to contribute because of the current atmosphere that is going on in Washington, D.C. And we have this group, Club of Rome. They created the original beginning of thinking about climate change. Now, I'm not a scientist, folks, but I have listened, I believe, to qualified people on both sides of this debate. And I've lived a long time. And I remember the headlines in the 70s where we were entering a new ice age. You know what I do know about history? The weather has always changed. And there's always been, extremes one year to the next year, then it goes the other way, and et cetera. And these people are talking about, they were saying 10 years ago that Al Gore, 12 years ago, said that in 10 years, 12 years, Florida would be underwater. The water would have risen by 10 feet. And I don't know about you, but the banks, are they that stupid that they would still make mortgages on beach homes for millions of dollars? 30-year mortgages on beach homes. Do they know something that we don't know? Or are they just that greedy and stupid to make mortgages on homes? And I don't know, folks. We need to be more informed about what's going on and how it works. Right now we have two players in this thing that we're not even thinking about. Have you heard of BlackRock and Vanguard? BlackRock and or Vanguard are among the three largest financial institutional investors for 505 out of 505 of the Standard & Poor. They are the largest investor in each one of those 505 companies. Does that give them influence? When you own the most stock in a company, Ryan, you and I are not educated guys. I didn't go to college. I went to community college. I wanted to be a state trooper, a Pennsylvania state trooper. Didn't work out. I'm glad at this point because I wouldn't have done well. I know my personality. I've learned, and so I'm glad. God guided me the right way in doing that. On the other side is the single largest institutional investor in 422 of these 505 companies, 84%. Now we see DEI. Now we've seen Target, Disney, these companies that went woke. Or Budweiser, what happened there? Do you think those people that are running those companies are that stupid? Or do you think it was the influence of the largest investor, BlackRock? Have you ever heard any speeches by the president of BlackRock? He is a scary guy. He has his own beliefs, and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, How do you like that? I mean, how are they doing recruiting people into our military? Last number I heard, they're 40% off on their recruitment. So we've sent all of our military equipment and ammunition to Europe, to Ukraine and so forth, and now we're sending it to Israel. We're sending it to Taiwan, and does that mean I want to invest in the military complex, the industrial military complex that makes ammunition and weapons and all that? I don't know if you've seen any of the Tony Stark, the Iron Man movies, and that storyline, how, the Stark industry made military from all over the world. And that was some of the storyline in some of those movies and stuff. And here we are. So what's going to happen? Does that mean that the 100 million man army, we have a 100 million man army, I believe that. I don't know about you, but I do have guns at home. I have a gun safe with guns and ammunition, and I have a reloading outfit that I can reload ammunition. And I wonder how many people across America, maybe that's why in Japan, when Hirohito, when he attacked Pearl Harbor, and they eventually asked him why he never come to the West Coast, because we know stories, the West Coast, they had stuff all the way up and down the West Coast of America in preparation for, they believed, Japan was going to come and attack the West Coast of America. And Hirohito said he didn't realize that he had awakened this giant. And here we are. And I'm praying that the giant within America, that silent majority, that we are still there. And we still have the guts to stand up, and we're tired of taking the crap that is being fed to us by these politicians that don't even comply with their oath of office anymore in what's going on. We're going to come back, and we're going to get into this even deeper in the next segment. Please come back. Call in. I'd like to hear your comments. I'll give you the numbers when we come back. God bless.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Beaver County Boom is happening June the 29th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Falcone's Moon Township Ford will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45. Take your radio along to listen or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Falcone's Moon Township Ford Beaver County Boom broadcast sponsors include City Rescue Mission, Pizza Joe's, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Tom Sipes Demolition, St. Barnabas, J. Young Refuse, Beaver County Radio, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The 2024 Beaver County Boom broadcast is being presented by Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Titanic the Musical, our majestic and beautiful season finale, presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union, June 21st through the 30th. Get tickets now at lincolnparkarts.org.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024. We can expect sunny skies lasting all day, reaching a high of 80 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Drilling operations are taking place in Economy Borough along Honing Road. Those were set to begin this morning. PennDOT reports that single-lane alternating traffic will occur on Honing Road near the Conway-Walrus Road intersection weekdays from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m., lasting through Monday, June 17th. Crews from Armstrong Drilling will be conducting drilling operations. Motorists are told to use caution when going through the area. Congressman Chris Deluzio was formally appointed to his subcommittees on the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. He is a member of both the Subcommittee on Railroads, Pipelines, and Hazardous Materials and the Subcommittee on Aviation. The congressman's first hearings and actions as a member of the committee begin today. A wide-ranging group of national and Western Pennsylvania leaders shared their excitement about Deluzio's appointment to the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee last week. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Dan Engen from Draw Collective presented his final option recommendations to the district at Tuesday night's work session in regards to the district building consolidations. Also at the meeting, Matt Motz was hired as the new varsity head football coach, replacing John Rosa. Linda Cicella, a kindergarten teacher at Independence Elementary's retirement, became effective. Kelly Weibel, JV cheerleading sponsor, resigned and accepted the head varsity cheerleading sponsor position. And Angela Markowitz was hired as a health suite assistant at Margaret Ross Elementary School. 2 summer custodial staff members were also hired. The board will meet next on Tuesday, June 25th in regular session. The PA House Consumer Protection Technology and Utilities Committee voted to send 4 bills to the House for consideration, including 2 bills to strengthen protections for consumers, a bill to boost energy production, and legislation introduced by Committee Chairman Rob Matze that would encourage the development of sustainable aviation fuel. Matze said the Pittsburgh International Airport provides a unique opportunity to boost the production of sustainable aviation fuel, which is an alternative bio-based fuel that's now being used by the aviation industry. PA ranks in the middle among states for the well-being of its children. It is 23rd overall in the new Kids Count data book from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Here's more from Danielle Smith.
Data book ranks states in 4 categories: economic well-being, education, health, and community and family. Leslie Bossier with the Annie E. Casey Foundation says the report found significant dips in the percentage of children who were reading proficiently by the end of 4th grade and in the percentage of students who were proficient in basic math.
We know both those skills are critically important not only to academic success, but to make sure that young people are prepared for the workforce.
Pennsylvania ranks 16th in education and shows improvement in high school students not graduating on time. From 2018 to 2019, it was 14%, but it decreased to 13% from 2020 to 2021.
Organizers of America's perennial July 4th hot dog eating contest say the reigning champion won't be competing this year due to a contract dispute. Joey Jaws Chestnut has been competing since 2005 and hasn't lost since 2015. At last year's famous Nathan's 4th of July hot dog eating contest, he downed 62 dogs and buns in 10 minutes. Organizers said Tuesday that the 40-year-old struck a deal with a competing brand for plant-based dogs, and that's a red line for Nathan's sponsored event. Chestnut fired back on social media last night, saying the event organizers changed the rules, and he told his fans, "Rest assured that you'll see me eat again soon. Stay hungry."
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A great weather day in store for us today with sunny skies and a high near 80. Mostly clear tonight. Will drop down to a low around 58. More sunshine tomorrow. It's going to be a hot one with temperatures in the upper 80s. Tomorrow night, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a very mild low of 65. Mostly sunny on Friday. We may see a shower and thunderstorm sometime throughout the day. Look for a high near 80 and more sunshine in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 79 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024, at 10 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 70 degrees with sunshine in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Hey, Ryan, do I look like Eddie Crow?
Do you look like Eddie Crow?
I don't think so. Anyway, folks.
A little bit.
All
No.
right. This has been unbelievable. So we're down to the last hour of my 3 days, and we were talking about BlackRock and Vanguard and the investment companies and how they have such control over everything that's going on. We were talking about, Target and Disney and Budweiser and all these companies that tried the woke road, and they lost for stockholders. They lost billions of dollars for stockholders in their direction. And I question in my own mind, where did that come from? Did it come from the BlackRock and Vanguard control over all of these companies and the power that they yield as being the largest stockholder in many of these companies, which gives them authority at the board meeting? When they have a board meeting, they can appoint their own people on the board of directors of these companies. So there's just stuff that's going on, and from there I go to the quantum financial system, QFS, and again, folks, and all of this stuff that I've talked about today, please take some time and do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. I mean, my goal is to enlighten you and to provide you access to information that you may have never seen before. And this is an article, and I don't have a date on it, but this was one of the first articles that I got. What people claim about the quantum financial system. Security. Proponents claim that QFS would use quantum cryptography, which theoretically could make financial transactions completely secure against cyber attacks. Isn't that one of the biggest problems we're having today with cyber attacks on banks and people and individuals? Efficiency, it's said to have the ability to process transactions much faster than current systems due to the computational power of quantum computers. Now, what's quantum computers? This is the new level, the next level. What was the guy's name that years ago when computers first came into being? I'll think of his name in a minute. But he made a prediction. Every 18 months, the power of the computer would increase double. So every 18 months, and this goes back into the 70s and 80s when computers, I had my first computer in 1986 from an IBM computer from the business store in Pittsburgh. And so here we are, and now the quantum computer is the next level of computers. Transparency. Some suggest it could offer greater transparency in financial transactions. And I think we got Deborah. We got Deborah on the phone, and let's see what Deborah says. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Mr. Tom. How are you today?
I'm absolutely wonderful and getting better.
Amen. Hey, this is my first time I ever talked to you, so you got to be patient with me and forgive me for my lack of, I'm not really good with math and all the stuff that you talk about. Some of the things you talk about is above my head.
That's
but some of the things you're talking about is like, oh. So anyway, first of all, I appreciate you saying some of the things you said. First of all, you were talking about a reset. And I don't know if you heard of a guy by the name of Lance Wallnau.
No, I
He's
can't
like
say
an
that I have,
evangelical
no.
leader and that sort of thing. Well, him and a couple other people were talking about a spiritual reset.
That is all part of this, dear. That is, if you listen to on YouTube, go and listen to Dr. Scott Young, not related. Put in YouTube in search Dr. Scott Young, and then Nesara. Put Nesara behind it, and he has dozens and dozens and dozens of 20, 30-minute videos. He's written a dozen books, and this is as much a part of that reset you're talking about than it is the reset.
Well, let me say this too: the information that you're getting. Are you part of the Patriot Party?
I don't know where I would say I'm not a member of a party. I spoke at Four Patriots in Rochester. There's a local group in Beaver Valley, Four Patriots, and I was a keynote speaker there a few months ago. So I do speaking. If people are looking for speakers, I speak about finance. I talk about human potential, and the financial things I do, and everything comes from the Lord above. I mean, I prayed heavily this morning that what I would say, because I come here today literally talking about stuff that nobody around here locally is talking about.
That's the truth.
So I needed to bring some truth to Beaver County, and that was what I decided to do. And I thank St. Barnabas for allowing me to do this and not put any restrictions on what I can talk about. But if it's opinion, I say that. But a lot of what I have here is factual. I mean, I've gathered this stuff over the years, the last several years that I gather this information, and I have reams of it.
Well, let me say, the reason why if you remember, when Mike Lindell started exposing the Dominion thing,
yes.
that's when cancel culture took him off the market. In fact, Boscov used to sell his pillows, but after the 2020 election, they didn't sell his stuff no more, right?
No, that's right.
And
yeah.
And that's why they're going after President Trump. I still call him President Trump. Because he's exposed. He said that he would expose the swamp, and he did. And that's why they're doing the things that they're doing to him. Now, I don't understand some of that stuff, but God has a way of exposing things. What's hidden in the darkness will be brought to the light, right?
That's exactly right.
And I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is we need to put our trust in the Lord. When I was working at President Trump's office down here in Bridgewater, I remember back before the election, they were talking about this reset and about how the military was going to, they basically said the same thing you did. Well, I didn't see anything happen at that time. So now this subject is creeping up again. So I'm wondering, is this going to be for real, or is this a conspiracy theory?
Well, conspiracy theories are what they title it. It's their tool. It's their sword. Anytime somebody talks about something, it's a conspiracy theory. It was like Mike Lindell. I watched both of his 2-day programs, front to back. I watched both of them. I saw the evidence, and I don't believe that he would have spent the millions of dollars that he spent to put that on, to put that information out there, to hire the experts that he hired, and the attorney generals from the different states that were there wouldn't have went there if this information didn't have some reality to it.
Right, because he puts his reputation on the line.
Oh, absolutely. He put everything on the line to do this, because anybody that is talking about this, and I made a joke to Ryan earlier, I says the FBI will be at my door this afternoon. I don't know, but I'm not afraid of that. I just, whatever it takes to save America. We are in trouble today, and the path that we are on is totally unsustainable. in any way,
Well,
shape, or form.
Not only are we bankrupt financially, but if the truth be told, we are bankrupt morally. I mean, we have gotten so far away from the Lord that, it's like Pastor Tim, my pastor, said, we need a revival of repentance and a fear of the Lord.
No question about it. No question about it. Now, I want to give you a gift, Barbara. You got a pencil? Can you write something down?
Not right now, but I'll listen.
Okay. If you send me an email with your mailing address, I will send you an autographed copy of my book, The Family Money Farm, and there's a gift in the book. That's a special gift. There's a letter with it and a gift. You'll understand it. But if you send me an email to Fired Up Tea, it's easy to remember. Fired Up.
Well, you know what? I don't do email, but I know where your office is. Are you still down there in Beaver?
I'm on the main street of Beaver, down by the cemetery wall. If you stop in the office, and I will, when I get back to the office today, I will actually sign a book for you, and it'll be on the counter. So if you just stop by the office, you can stop by and pick it up there.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it because I don't drive.
Oh, okay.
So I rely on the DART bus.
Okay.
I know it's a little
either
too much
that or,
personal
when you
information.
hang on and Ryan will pick up the phone. If you give him your mail, I don't want to put it online. If you give Ryan your mailing address, then I will mail it to you.
Well, I really appreciate that. I wasn't expecting. Thank you so much.
You're
Mr.
quite
Vaughn.
welcome,
That was
dear.
such a blessing.
Thank you so much for the call. God bless you, dear. All the blessings of God to you for the rest of your days. Yes, ma'am.
You too, and God's blessings, and keep speaking
Hang
the
on
truth
there.
in
Hang
love.
on. Ryan will pick up the phone, and you can give him your mailing. Give me your name and mailing address.
Okay.
Thank you for the call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, folks, it really does my heart good today to hear people. I mean, we've had a dozen phone calls in the last 3 days, and they have all been heartwarming. I prayed this morning before I left the house that when I came here today, that I would really, give a message. And that's what it was all about. It was a message of hope, a message of where we're going and how we can get through everything that's coming. And the Nasara story that I put out, all of those things about Nasara Jasara, I believe that is the answer to the reset in America, but that reset is going to be global because there are already countries around the world that are going to precious metal, gold, and precious metal-backed currencies. When that happens, think about it. That stops inflation. I mean, prior to 1972, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, we didn't have inflation. In other words, inflation was how much more gold was dug out of the ground. That was where inflation was, and there isn't a lot of new gold that is dug out every year. Although I like to watch the gold hunt miners on in Alaska and that reality show that's on there, I love watching that. But I want to say this: we're getting close to the half hour, and I want to say this. All of this stuff I'm talking about, when Nasara happens, it is going to be a reawakening, and realize that with that comes opportunity. And so right now, until that event occurs, until the reset occurs, you need to be working on you. You need to be growing you every day. The 3 books that I talked about, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends, Influence People. People skills is the number one ingredient in success in life. And that's what How to Win Friends and Influence People is. It is the greatest people skill book that has ever been written. And that book and The Magic of Thinking Big, those 3 books, you need to get those books and study them. You need to read them, make notes, and try to, not try, but to implement what the suggestions are in those books to make you better. Now, when things change in our lives, and maybe many of you can relate to this, I can remember times in my life where I wasn't so in tune to opportunities, but opportunities comes to your life once in a while. And if you are not prepared mentally, physically for an opportunity, you won't know it's an opportunity when it knocks on your door. So all of this stuff that we're talking about, all this negative and all the things that we're going to have to go through, to get reset in America, to get rid of the debt, to get the government back under control so that they truly work for you and I, because they're our employees. We are not their gophers. They are our employees. So in the meantime, we have to prepare ourselves for the opportunities that are going to come. Because when this reset comes and all the debt goes away and all of this happens, what is going to be your thinking in what we're doing? Is your thinking going to be, woe is me? Or are you going to look at it as opportunity? This is where the remainder of my show today, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about personal growth. I want to talk about being prepared. Be ready when the opportunity comes, because all of this transition that is going to occur when the Federal Reserve gets taken down because they're bankrupt. I mean, they are bankrupt. And if they're bankrupt, why do I have to pay them any money if I owe them debt? That is where the debt freedom is going to come from, where the debt is going to be forgiven, because it's owed to a bankrupt company, the Federal Reserve. This is going to happen all over the world. So if all of a sudden a reset, and one of the examples I remember Dr. Scott Young doing, and you need to go to YouTube and follow Dr. Scott Young, listen to some of his videos and how he's talking about this. Barbara was wonderful. She was talking about the God reset, and that is part of it, folks. It's a decision that you and I can make to make this the reset of America like it's never been reset before. That's what President Trump is talking about, that make America great again. And that is what turned the World Economic Forum off in 2016 when he was elected the first time, and he went to Davos and spoke, and he said, I'm going to make America great again. That was the beginning of the silent attacks on Trump, because he defied what they wanted to do. He wasn't another puppet as a president of America. So we're going to take a break there. We're going to go to the news, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the greatness and the possibilities that lie before you if you're willing to take them.
The place for news, sports, and entertainment. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, coming to you live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios. For the 14th year, Eyes in Beaver County will turn to the skies on Saturday, June the 29th for Push Beaver County's Beaver County Boom. Beaver County Boom is presented by Visit Beaver County, and it's bigger and better than ever. There will be skydivers, and an Air Heritage vintage military airplane will fly over, followed by the star of the show, Beaver County Boom, at 9:45. It all takes place over the Ohio River between Monaca and Rochester. Bring your radio along or listen on your smart device to the Falcones Moon Township Ford live broadcast on Beaver County Radio beginning at 6. Title presenter sponsor of Beaver County Boom is Visit Beaver County. Gold sponsors include Temco Industries and Zambelli Fireworks. Silver sponsors include AK Nahas Furniture and Appliances, the Borough of Beaver, the Borough of Monaca, Brentwood Bank, Clearview Credit Union, and Fort McIntosh Foundation, among others. Don't miss out on Beaver County Boom, Saturday, June the 29th, right here on Beaver County Radio.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
You're busy, no time to cook, you're hungry, and the kids are too. Don't stress. Make it a McDonald's dinner tonight. Download the app and get McDelivery right to your door. Whatever you're hungry for, McDonald's has it. You're happy, the kids will be too. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Pizza Joe's offers Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio some of the best variety in pizza, subs, strombolis, and more. Stop by your local Pizza Joe's in Beaver, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, or Cranberry Township and get a 9-cut cheese pizza and a 9-cut veggie pizza for just $20. You can't beat that. Visit pizzajoes.com for additional savings and to sign up for Pizza Joe's Points Loyalty Program. Specials are before tax and delivery. Offers and loyalty are available at participating locations. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024. We can expect sunny skies all day long with a high of about 80 degrees today. We'll have a complete Beaver County forecast after we take this look at news. Drilling operations have begun on Honing Road in Economy. They were set to begin this morning, and single-lane alternating traffic will be occurring on Honing Road near the Conway-Walrus Road intersection weekdays from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. through Monday, June 17th. Crews from Armstrong Drilling are conducting the operations. Drivers are told to use caution when going through the area. Congressman Chris Deluzio was formally appointed to his subcommittees on the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. He is a member of both the Subcommittee on Railroads, Pipelines, and Hazardous Materials and the Subcommittee on Aviation. The congressman's first hearings and actions as a member of the committee began today. A wide-ranging group of national and Western Pennsylvania leaders shared their excitement about Deluzio's appointment to the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee last week. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Dan Engen from Draw Collective presented his final option recommendations to the district at Tuesday night's work session. Also at the meeting, Matt Motz was hired as the new football varsity head coach, replacing John Rosa. Linda Cecila, kindergarten teacher at Independence Elementary, her retirement became effective May 31st. Kelly Weibel, the JV cheerleading sponsor, resigned and accepted the head varsity cheerleading sponsor position. Angela Markowitz was hired as a health suite assistant at Margaret Ross Elementary, and also 2 summer custodial staff members were hired. The board meets again on Tuesday, June 25th in regular session. A resident of Newcastle pled guilty in federal court to a charge of violating federal narcotics laws. Dante Blackshear, age 25, pled guilty before senior United States District Judge Arthur Schwab to conspiring to distribute fentanyl and cocaine. Blackshear was charged as part of a drug trafficking crew operating in Mercer and Lawrence counties. As part of his plea, Blackshear stipulated that he was responsible for conspiring to distribute 20 grams of fentanyl and 100 grams of cocaine. The law provides for a maximum total sentence of up to 30 years in prison, a fine of up to $2 million, or both. The PA House Consumer Protection Technology and Utilities Committee voted to send 4 bills to the full House for consideration, 2 of which are for strengthening protections of Pennsylvania consumers, a bill to boost energy production, and legislation introduced by Committee Chairman Rob Matzey that would encourage the development of sustainable aviation fuel. Matzey said the Pittsburgh International Airport provides a unique opportunity to boost production of SAF, which is an alternative bio-based fuel that's now being used by the aviation industry. Pennsylvania ranks in the middle among states for the well-being of its children. It is 23rd overall in the new Kids Count data book from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Here's more details from Danielle Smith.
Data Book ranks states in 4 categories: economic well-being, education, health, and community and family. Leslie Bossier with the Annie E. Casey Foundation says the report found significant dips in the percentage of children who were reading proficiently by the end of 4th grade and in the percentage of students who were proficient in basic math.
We know both those skills are critically important not only to academic success, but to make sure that young people are prepared for the workforce.
Pennsylvania ranks 16th in education and shows improvement in high school students not graduating on time. From 2018 to 2019, it was 14%, but it decreased to 13% from 2020 to 2021.
Across the United States, thieves have been targeting electric vehicle charging stations, intending on stealing the cables which contain copper wiring. The price of copper is near a record high on global markets, which means criminals stand to collect rising sums of cash from selling the material. The stolen cables often disable entire charging stations, and broken down chargers have emerged as the latest obstacle for U.S. automakers in their effort to convert more Americans to electric vehicles. Even if finding a charging station doesn't necessarily mean finding functional cables, it becomes another reason for buyers to stick with gasoline-fueled or hybrid vehicles, at least for the time being.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A great weather day in store for us today with sunny skies and a high near 80. Mostly clear tonight. Will drop down to a low around 58. More sunshine tomorrow. It's going to be a hot one with temperatures in the upper 80s. Tomorrow night, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a very mild low of 65. Mostly sunny on Friday. We may see a shower and thunderstorm sometime throughout the day. Look for a high near 80 and more sunshine in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 79 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, June the 12th of 2024, at 36 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 74 degrees and still rising with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, we're on. We're back. It's Tom Young here filling in for Eddie Crow. And we're down, it's hard to believe, Ryan, it's down to the last half hour. 3 days of this, I was terrified over the weekend. And I just prayed that I would say the right things and that I could influence and reach into people's hearts and help them find a better way to the future. You know, we were just talking about all the things in the Jasara, and the reset that is, I believe, is going to happen before the election this year in November. And in that function, when that comes, and you wake up in the morning and you turn on your TV and the emergency broadcasting system's on, and they're giving you instructions to stay at home and stay indoors, don't go in the streets, etc. And what does that really mean? That's scary. Does that mean dictators, the army taking over? Well, that is what has to happen in order to clear the air. Let me put it that way. And then there will be instructions on what to do. I've talked about rainbow currency. Rainbow currency is going to be the new precious metal, gold, silver-backed currency that is going to come into being. This isn't my theory, my conspiracy theory. This has been a plan that has been around for 20 years, so it is not new. It has been signed off on, but it has not been implemented yet. But I just believe in my heart right now, my opinion, that we are on the doorstep of this taking hold and starting to fix America and frankly the rest of the world. I mean, the things that are going on around the world are just incomprehensible. What China's doing right now, they are infiltrating the world with their ideology of communism, and they truly want to be a world leader. They want to take the American dollar out of the picture. where we have the currency of the world. There are many countries around the world that they run their marketing, their currency based on the U.S. dollar. So that's been the power of our dollar. But now, since the Federal Reserve and our government have run the debt up, I mean, it is at the point where the feds have raised the interest rates. The current rate is 5.5. And they're having meetings. They were originally talking about starting to reduce the rate, but the economy is still growing, so they got to keep the rate up in order to slow the economy down and take control of inflation and on and on and on. These constant manipulations of what's going on have led us down this path to where we are today. And for a long, long time, I used an analogy of a bullet train. So we are on a bullet train heading down the track, and there are factions in our government and the banking and Federal Reserve that are trying to make it go faster. And the challenge of that train is the bridge is out. You know, there is an ending to the current story, the current track that we're on. There was an ending. And as of this year, I have changed my analogy. With Biden projecting that, you know, he's going to outlaw gas-powered engines, and we're all going to have electric EV cars. The military is going to have EV tanks. How do you handle that out in the middle of the battlefield when your battery goes dead? So my new analogy is we are now on a battery-powered submarine. The battery has died, and we are sitting at the bottom of the ocean, 1,000 feet down from the surface, and we're running out of oxygen. That is my perception, my opinion of where we stand today with what is going on out there, with all the things going on. You know, we have riots going on in the cities. We have illegals coming across by the millions across our southern border, and that is a cancer. It's going to destroy America. Remember I talked about we're the light on the hill. We're the beacon light on the hill. And as what for centuries now, we have been that guiding light for the rest of the world, that people have modeled themselves over, you know, us. So to find that happiness, you know, the right we have to happiness, to freedom, to do what we want to do for ourselves. There isn't really another country in the world that has what we have. But there are so many things that over a long period of time, this isn't something that just happened yesterday. It didn't happen last week. It didn't happen last year. It has been going on for a long, long time. And I believe a key element of that, and I've got an article here, Quintus Fabius Maximus Verrucosus. Now, who was that? He was a famous general in the Roman military. He was a Roman military commander. And he was known for his strategies of tricking the enemy. When he would make the enemy think he was coming straight at him, and he had already prepared, and he was going to attack from the sides and the rear. He had already set up his plan. So it was about tricking the enemy in a slow way. And what he would do is he wouldn't attack. He would nibble at them. In other words, he would attack from the side, then they would withdraw. Then all of a sudden they would attack from the other side, then they would withdraw. They would attack from the rear, and then they would withdraw. So they kept the enemy confused by this slow. So he never put all of his forces into the fight. Therefore, not as many people died, but he confused the enemy. And after a while, the enemy thought there were people coming from every direction, so he would get the enemy to give up. That was what he was known for. Now, there's a reason I told that story, because in 1890, there was a group formed, and they took his name, and they called it the Fabian Society, because that was Fabius Maximus, that was his name, and they called it the Fabian Society. Now let me give you they have a coat of arms. Their coat of arms is the picture of a wolf in a sheepskin. So it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And this organization started in about 1890 by two military men in Europe. It came to the United States, and the strategy, the Fabian strategy, is just what I said about the military. That it was that little bit at a time, patience, long term, and this was the beginning of the indoctrination of our children. In the 1930s, George Bernard Shaw was a member of this organization. I don't know if you know, but George Bernard Shaw was an influencer in the 30s. He was a playwright. He was one of the top guys in Hollywood on the West Coast, but he was an influencer. At the time in 1930s, there were about 7,000 members of this organization. And in his writings, he wrote things like, we need a commission like the IRS that interviews older people. They reach a certain age, you have to present yourself to this commission and convince them that you're still a viable human being, because we need to cut down on society. This was the beginning of population reduction. Because and there was a movie years and years ago, go look it up, Soylent Green. I don't know if you ever heard of that movie, Ryan, but it was the Soylent Green. When you reached a certain age, the government showed up with their bus to take you off to the retirement farm. And you didn't need to bring a lot of stuff because we have everything there. And they took you to a factory and they turned you into green soup that they were feeding other seniors with. It was called Soylent Green. It was a gross movie when you figured out what it was about. Now we're going to take a break. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk more about the Fabian Society and why we're in the trouble we're in today with our young people.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal Housing Lender, member NCUA.
It's time to wake up, Beaver Valley, with Pastor David Grove from the Church of the Redeemed of Beaver Valley. Tune in to Beaver County Radio this and every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. It's time to wake up and turn our hearts back to Jesus Christ. So wake up early this Saturday and tune in to Wake Up Beaver Valley from 9 until 10 a.m. right here on Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George. Since 1934, they've been committed to the physical and financial recovery of personal injury victims. Why choose the law firm of Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George? Attorney Larry Kelly explains.
First of all, we've been AV rated by Martindale Hubbell. It's the highest rating you can get for legal ability and ethics, and that comes from our peers. We have board-certified civil trial specialist, which is like another bar exam. Would you go to a doctor who is not board-certified? Probably not. I've always said, and I tell my daughters, I have 3 daughters who are attorneys, those in the profession know the lawyers of LGKG have the respect of our peers, and that's all I ever cared about.
For your free initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
PA Cyber presents Midland Music Mondays at Lincoln Park on June 17th at 6:30. Enjoy This, That, and the Other Thing on June 17th in the park, rain or shine. Food truck service begins at 5. Sponsored by Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Boom is happening June the 29th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Falcone's Moon Township Ford will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45. Take your radio along to listen or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Falcone's Moon Township Ford Beaver County Boom broadcast sponsors include Friendly Federal Credit Union, Tri-County McDonald's, the Hopewell Shopping Center, Electric Garage Door Sales, the Community College of Beaver County Radio, and beavercountyradio.com. The 2024 Beaver County Boom broadcast is being presented by Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888.
Well, here we go. We're down. We got 9 minutes, and I really was having a hard time believing that I was going to be here for 3 days from 9 to noon. I know how hard it is for Eddie to put together information. I mean, I've spent 2 or 3 hours every night in putting together my notes, what I'm going to talk about, and have an agenda. And what is here. I hope that I had some impact on some people out there. I thank you for all the calls that we had in, and we're still here. So if you wanted to make a call, we're still here at 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. And if you got any comments or anything, I would be more than receptive to hearing them. Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter.
You know, at the beginning of the day on Monday, you came in and you had said those same words to me. You said, I just don't know how I'm going to get through these next 3 days. I hope I have enough. And here we are Wednesday afternoon. You flew through it, Tom, and it went very well.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. My closing message today is really simple. We talked about a lot of dark things that lays in front of America and in front of people, things that are going to happen. There's no way to avoid some of the things that I talked about. But in that, there is always, when there's a yin, there's a yang. You know, when there is darkness, there is always lightness. We talked about the black box, and you might feel like you're in the black box, you know, without any light right now. And I'm sitting here with my pen poking a hole in your black box, trying to give you some effervescence, some life, some expectation that something is really there, and something is there as an opportunity. As NESARA comes into being and the military takes over and resets everything, and the debt goes away and the currency changes, and people say, well, am I going to lose my money? Well, you need to listen to Dr. Scott Young on YouTube. Put in Dr. Scott Young, NESARA, NESARA, and you'll find his talks. I mean, he is very insightful. He's a doctor by his practice, what he does, but he's written a dozen books, and he's talked on this NESARA for years. And there is a wealth of information. And my recommendation to you is start growing. In other words, look, how can I be better tomorrow than I am today? Because if you're in a growth mode, you're growing you have an expectation of being better tomorrow than you were today, then that is going to give you a mindset that when all this transpires in the future, whenever it transpires, you're going to be able to see the opportunities that are sitting there and what's going on. So you want to be prepared for those opportunities. And Dawn. All right, let's. Hey, Dawn, how you doing? Hello, Dawn.
You know what? They are going to lose in the long run. Their game cannot go on forever, can it?
No, it can't. There's got to be an end. I mean, we're sitting in a submarine right now. The battery has gone dead because they have EV submarines. They're no longer nuclear. They're just run the batteries. And we made a mistake. We stayed out too long, so the battery went dead. We sunk to the bottom, and that means we're going to run out of oxygen.
Yeah, if we don't change real fast, November 5th, correct?
Absolutely. And I just, I've been listening to Dr. Scott Young on YouTube. I don't know if you ever listened to him talking about NESARA and what
I have no computer and no television, and I love it. But
God bless you, my friend. God bless you. God bless you. I wish sometimes I could walk away from it because my business and my life, it just revolves around that. But I try to approach it differently because I want to do research. I want to know. I always have this question, why, in my mind. No matter what anybody says, why do you say that? Why is it going to do this? Why is that going to happen? And I have to find information in order to do that. And I think as the election comes, if NESARA happens before the election, which is what I believe it's going to happen. I mean, Biden, I don't know how much longer he can go. I mean, the Democrats, they got to be cringing and be absolutely embarrassed every time he gets up in front of people to say anything anymore. I don't know how they can defend that. So they are burning their ships at sea. They haven't even made it to shore for the battle yet in November, and they're burning their ships already at sea, and they're sinking because they're burning.
Too big of a percentage of the American people know what's going on. They thought it would be a much smaller percentage.
They did. That's right. The silent majority, that is my goal. I awaken people. I try to awaken those good people that are out there living their lives day in and day out, not paying attention to what's going on, but we need them to start paying attention because we need them. We need all of them.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a good day,
all right,
sir.
Dawn. God bless, my friend. Yes, sir. Wow. As we slowly wind down, and I want to share a couple things. It's really about personal growth. It's about being prepared. If you're not preparing you with the books I suggested, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends, Influence People, which is about people skills, and The Magic of Thinking Big, and other books. My book, The Family Money Farm, which is about multi-generational wealth. Well, Tom, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, when you go to the bank and you make a loan at the bank, you are feeding inflation. You help inflation to increase simply by using the bank's services. When you make a loan at the bank, you put up collateral. They use your collateral to make a second loan, a third loan, fourth loan, all the way an average of 7 loans. So when we utilize the bank, an infinite banking concept Nelson Nash, that wrote the book, the IBC, the infinite banking concept, that his dream was the 10%. The 10% of the people in America would move their cash, their money and banking to the life insurance industry. Now, I don't say that broadly because less than 1% of the entire insurance industry with life insurance would fit into this category. So don't take what I said in a broad scope. But being your own banker, in other words, when you have a loan at the bank and you pay them interest, that money compounded leads to millions of dollars that the average family loses over a lifetime that could be recaptured. It's that simple. And when my daughter, my son-in-law wants to buy a truck right now, or he needs to buy a car, my daughter came to me the other day and said, "Dad, you're the bank, so we're going to buy a vehicle. Are you ready to make the loan?" And I said, "Well, sure, whatever you get. I know what they're looking for. I know what they want to use." And so they're going to come to the family bank, and they're going to make a loan, and they're going to pay the family bank back at interest. Well, where did I get the money to make the loan to my son-in-law? I went to the life insurance company where my life insurance policy is, and I borrowed from the insurance company. My policy's still there. Cash value is still there. I borrowed from the insurance company. They didn't ask me what I wanted to use it for. All I had to do was sign my name to get the money. There's no notification of the government, and I loaned it to my son-in-law, and I set up an amortization schedule the same way the bank would set it up if you went there and borrowed money to buy a car or truck. And they're going to make me payments. Now, his other truck was financed by me, and they paid that off. So now he's ready for another vehicle, and the money is in the family. And guess when I die, who gets the life insurance? Tax free. What did it cost me to create it? Nothing, because it was the way I managed my money. I teach people how to create wealth beyond their dreams simply by learning new things, new ways, unique ways to do things. Take some time out of your life and come and see me. I offer my blessings. God bless. Have a great day. And we'll see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to